have done an outstanding job. For the past few months, we've been working on a grow operation. We know that Nelson Hernandez made millions of dollars, and what he did was ran an operation where they set up grow houses. We served 5 search warrants in Polk County alone of grows that he either had in progress or that had occurred, and he had already broken those grows down. Nelson Hernandez was the ringleader. He was assisted by Jesus Perdomo, who was his brother-in-law. His brother-in-law lives in Marathon, and he also had grow houses in addition to what was happening here. Here's what we believe occurs. These two gentlemen, at least Nelson, would obtain people that were of Cuban descent. And it's our belief, at least traditionally we know, one way that the Cubans are able to come into this country is they fly to Mexico, and then they're smuggled with coyotes. And part of the deal is, in order to pay back the fees of smuggling you into the country, you have to tend these houses. And most of the folks you see here were tenders of the grow houses. As a result of our investigation and information we received from the community, and that's why it's so important if people see something or hear something in their community that they say something, we were able to take down this operation. We know that the marijuana we seized has a street value of about $1.1 million. Now that's not the wholesale value from where it left the grow house. But when the grows occurred, Nelson didn't trust the others, so this is the buds that brings all the money. He would break down, dry the buds, and then sell the dope on the street. As a result, we know that it's very dangerous to run a grow house. Grow houses historically get ripped off. Some of the information that we received, and we're working to verify, was why would you have bulletproof vest and guns? Well, to protect your grow house. Or in Nelson Hernandez's company, he apparently had an enforcer. And when they learned of other grow houses, Nelson Hernandez is reported to have sent his enforcer over to do home invasion robberies and take the dope. So not only was he eliminating competition, but he would take the dope and sell it as well. You could call that a twofer. In addition to that, there's also reports that Nelson Hernandez would also send his enforcer to rip off his own drug houses so that the tenders that he paid that stayed with him, he wouldn't have to pay them because all of a sudden the dope was gone. We know wholesale this dope sells for between $2,600 and $3,500 a pound here, and it wholesales in New Jersey and New York for much more, and that's where we believe the majority of these buds was headed to the Northeast. Some of them were also taken into the Miami area. So we listened and we talked to and we took off the operation. During information we received, Nelson Hernandez was often quoted as saying, look, you can do about 3 grows a year at a house, but it's really, really important that you move the house after a grow, because if you stay in one location very long, the cops will catch you. Well, we caught him regardless of how often he was moving the grows. We also know that there were 2 children involved, a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old. This was Nelson's children and Zaylene Hernandez's children. So while we were trying to talk to them, and they wouldn't tell us anything, wouldn't cooperate at all, we explained to them, you've got 2 children here. We'll have to turn them over to DCF. You're going to be separated from your children. In essence, we were trying to get Xylene to give us information and try to determine her criminality to see if maybe she was an innocent victim. She wouldn't say a word, even in the face of losing her children. She told the 5-year-old when DCF started to leave with him to man up as the children left. As of yesterday, all of these people are still in our county jail because they're there on nebia holes. They have to prove the origin of the money and the legitimacy of the money that they used to bond out of jail. Ladies and gentlemen, these grows pop up all over the state of Florida. And every time, almost every time, we find the people that are tending the grows are of Cuban descent. Almost every time they refuse to cooperate. And their system is very complete with checks and balances. In addition to this, while we were wrapping up this operation, we received another tip last night out in Poinciana on Magpie Court, where we arrested 2 tenders, Mr. and Mrs. Hernandez. We seized 37 very large plants of marijuana. We estimate, because it's not dried yet, but we estimate there should be 30 to 40 pounds of buds there with a wholesale price of about $480,000. We know that the tradition is for Hernandez and others to go to homes for sale by owner and simply buy the house, or either pay a large down payment on the house in order to seize the opportunity to be in the neighborhood. So these grows can pop up at any location in any neighborhood, and they're not discriminate. It's wherever they can find a deal on a house, or wherever they can find a house that they think they'll be left alone. Well, it's not just enough that they're growing illegal drugs. It's not just enough that they bring home invasion, burglary, and robbery to your neighborhood, but when they show up, they steal the electricity. They have someone go in and bypass the meter and hotwire. Well, there's 2 reasons for that. One, they're crooks and they don't want to pay for the electricity, but more importantly, they certainly can't show on an electric bill the kinds of electricity they need in these hydroponic grows. So they're ripping off the electric companies. They're putting the neighborhood at risk for robberies, and in addition to that, at risk for your house being caught, for your house catching on fire, because they overload the electricity on the next house over during a grow operation. It's interesting to point out that Nelson Hernandez has not paid his electric bill since 2007. Every time we get information, we're able to make a significant difference, and we've put these people in jail. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a lot of money. It's a great deal of money. No wonder there are efforts to legalize marijuana in the state of Florida. There are greedy people who want a piece of this without taking the risk of committing a criminal act. But as long as there's people wanting to smoke illegal marijuana, there will be those that take the risk. And if people make the mistake of approving Amendment 2 under the false illusion that it's for the very sick, when it's to legalize marijuana in the state of Florida, you'll only see new kinds of businesses come in to take advantage of the people of the state of Florida. State of Florida works very hard to protect the community from these criminals and will continue to do that. So my detectives once again did an awesome job. If you see something, if you hear something, say something. You don't actually have to see the marijuana transported in and out of the house. Do they darken, does people seem to move in? Do they darken out the windows? Do you see them moving lumber in? Do you see them moving very little furniture in? Do you see neighbors that wave but are very quiet? Do you see neighbors that don't interact like neighbors normally do? Call us. If you see something out of the norm in your community, call us and let us investigate. And we'll be able to put more criminals in jail and protect the people from the state of Florida from those who would put them at risk so that they can profit from drugs. Any questions?
Sheriff, is there any relationship between the Hernandez in the first case where 9 people were arrested and the Hernandez in the second case?
Not that we can establish at this point in the investigation, but keep in mind this second investigation, we're just into this, less than 24 hours, but no indication at this point.
Are we allowed to know whose children? I know that Zaleen, the 5-year-old, belongs to her. How about the other child? They're 14?
I believe that's their child as well. If not, we'll let you know. But these children obviously aren't charged with a crime. They're victims. They're victims of greedy parents. They're victims of parents that would rather watch their children go off with DCF than to cooperate and maybe be able to tell us information that would have shown that Zaleen may have been a victim. No, she took the responsibility by her actions, told her 5-year-old to man up as he was hauled away with strangers in DCF custody. That's the kind of people that put greed and drugs and money ahead of their own children. And if they'll do that, what will they do to you in the community? What will they do to you as the customer using their drugs? They don't care. They don't care what chemicals they spray on the drugs. They don't care what they use to grow the drugs. As long as they can grow that product, deliver it to you at a ridiculous amount of money, so what if you get sick? So what if they poison you? It's no concern to them. And what's really frightening, if Amendment 2 passes, Amendment 2 protects the grower and the deliverer of drugs and the physician from civil suit. Any questions?
Sheriff, it is the 5-year-old is the son, that is the child, and the 14-year-old is another child.
Okay.
Separate.
Any idea how long this first ring had been operating?
They move around. So they weren't in these particular 5 locations very long because Nelson's protocol was to do a grow and leave. You can start with small plants. It's a very, very technical process. You can start with small plants and grow out in 90 days. So it was short term. And that's what makes them difficult to investigate. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
We do have some videos